Hi guys, welcome to SAP Online CRM recorded session number 6. We have started with campaign management in session 5. Just to give a recap on what we did, we had also covered with the document which we have sent to you. So in campaign management, we saw the basic configuration steps, which included defining objectives, defining tactics, defining campaign types, objectives and tactics, maintaining sender addresses for email, maintaining product hierarchies for campaign, defining types for marketing plan, and finally we also saw the steps to assign profiles to our marketing calendar. We did see a step which says define target system, which should not be related, but we did see how we can go through. So these are the steps which we covered in session 5. Today we are in session 6, which is campaign management 2, which starts off with campaign execution. So as we saw the recap for session 5, we have did the basic configuration steps for campaign management. So today we will be doing the steps how to execute or how to complete our campaign, how to complete the configuration of our campaign. So you can see we are starting from 3.3, that is campaign execution. The first step is defining partner determination procedure. Before we move to this step, what we understand the partner determination procedure is, in our session 2 or session 3, we saw organizational management. We saw how the organizational units are mapped, how the entire organization structure is created in SAP CRM. So, every transaction which starts off, or every transaction which is maintained in SAP CRM, has to determine a partner or one or more partners who are related to the transaction. Now when I say partners, it can be anything. It can be a business, it can be an employee, it can be contact person. So partner determination procedure is a procedure where you determine who are the partners involved in this campaign activity. For example, if you have a campaign which is run by Honda company, and Honda company thinks that all the contact persons, all its customers and other business partners are the partners which are involved, then accordingly the consultant can determine the partner determination procedure as per the requirement of Honda company. Now, saying that, let's see the steps how this can be done. How do we determine the entire procedure in the CRM system? So let's log into CRM and go by the steps as with your documents. So I am in CRM now. I go in SPRO. We know SPRO is the place where we go in for the entire configuration steps in CRM. So for any configuration, we will have to go into SPRO. So let's see the step-by-step configurations to be done under campaign execution. So we saw first thing is partner determination procedure. So I am going in SAP reference IMG. This is also a common step. Again, IMG stands for implementation guide. Under that, I go into customer relationship management. You can see the document that says basic functions, partner processing. So I'm going to basic functions, under that partner processing. And here you can see define partner determination procedure. For any transaction, to define the partner determination procedure, you will have to come into this step itself. So SAP CRM is built in such a way that it has its own tables. So we do not, it can be configured by entering into the values in the table. So for all configuration steps, we will have to go to the respective table and configure it accordingly. So this will be the table for partner determination procedure. I click on that. Now, if you see the document, it says highlight standard procedure 0002 business activities and use it as copy template for the new procedure. Now, this is a step which can be used. All the same is, for example, if you are creating a new template altogether, you will have more steps to do. If you want to copy it from a different template, for example, business activities, there is nothing but campaigns. As I explained it to you in the previous session. There are 3 scenarios in CRM: marketing, sales and service. Under marketing there are 3 stages, that is the campaign or the activity stage, wherein the customer tries to promote his product. Then we have the opportunity stage. We have the lead stage, wherein there is a lead from the customer's end or the end customer's end. So we have something called as lead management. And finally we have the opportunity stage, wherein we determine a clear opportunity of a sale to happen. So these are the 3 stages which come under marketing. Then it is the sales stage, wherein the sales is made. We will be looking at the sales order and other configurations. Finally, there is a service stage wherein after services are being recorded as transaction in SAP CRM. So these are the 3 scenarios and the different stages which comes under 3 scenarios. So we are in the first stage of the first scenario, that is under marketing scenario, we are in the first stage, that is activity or campaign stage. So you can use this as a copy template. So if you want to use anything as a copy template, you just have to select the line. You can find the option here which says copy as, click on copy as. So that template is copied automatically and it is asking you to change the name of the template. So I'll give it as 11111 9. And give it as partner determination for sales. Okay. So what I did is I just copied the template. And I gave it a different name and different description. Now I click on OK, enter here, and it's asking me entry 1 of the entries to be copied. So I will say copy all. So this is the screen I get. Let's see what are the next steps provided in the document. It says highlight the new procedure and choose view partner function. So what I do is, for that, now I have created the new procedure that you can see. So it says highlighted and double click on partner functions and procedure. So that will take you the individual folders for that template. Now you can see choose new entries and add a new partner function with the following data. So all I have to do is click on new entries here. Now what did you see in the previous step is in the template which we copied there were two partners, that is activity and sales employees. So if you want to add more partners in your scenario, you can just have to select the partner here. For example, if you feel bill to party is going to be one of your partners, you have to select it here and click on save. Select the customization request and you can see that will be one of the partners. So this, you can see bill to party is added as one of the partners. So this is how you determine who are the partners who are going to be involved in your transaction of campaign. So let's see what are the, you can select different attributes as it is shown, like changeable, number of occurrence, which are all smaller attributes. Same way the document is showing another example of adding another partner. So you can use this document, go by the same example, create how many other partners you need and understand the step. Now when I'm going to the next step, it says maintaining organizational data profile. So you can see this, the purpose of this activity is to create a new organizational determination profile that allows you to determine the responsible organizational unit by means of the assignment of the respective system user, which creates a business transaction in the organizational model. So as the description says, in the previous step we determined partners. Here we will determine the organizational data. When I say organizational data, so the previous step we saw for if a transaction has to go out of CRM, who are the partners involved? So we will be determining the partners who will be involved in that transaction. Same way, here we are going to determine which are the organizational units that would be determined for this transaction or for campaign. So this is the same kind of step here. So again you can use the transaction code. So whenever in the document you can find a transaction code, you can use it directly, or you can go by the normal table step where you can go by step into the finding table. So I'm going by the table method. So I just click on back and closing this. I'll go back. Lift the arrow. SAP reference ING. Customer relationship management. Here I will be going to master data. Under that you can see organizational management. Under that is organizational data determination. Change rules and profiles. And then maintain organizational data profile. So let's see what are the steps to be covered here. So you can see to create a new organizational data determination profile, perform the following steps. Choose new entries and start creating. So what I have to do is click on new entries here. You give a profile name. So here you can see you can give a profile name. And give it as Y. format of data for it. Do the same scenario. Let me select it as a sales scenario because we are doing the campaigns for our sales, it's not for service. Now we have something called as organizational model determination rule. Now this is an important step. Normally what this step means is how do you want the system to recognize your organizational unit? For example, if there is a campaign activity which is happening to a customer who is in India, in a particular region, then accordingly the sales office or the sales unit of India should be affecting with that transaction, or we should be recording with that transaction. So how do I determine that model for each transaction? So there is a rule, there are different rules available. So once you click on that option box and click on the drop down here, you can see number of rules. You can see number of rules coming up here. The default rule which we apply in SAP CRM is 1000166, which basically means determine according to partner attributes. And what are the attributes? It's region and country. So the statement clearly says determine the organizational unit according to partner attributes. Your partner is going to be your prospective customer's attributes. And what are the attributes? It's region and country. So according to your customer's country and region, determine the organizational model. That is what this rule means. You have n number of rules here. So accordingly for your business scenario you can use the rule. But this is the most commonly or the default used rule. So I'm going to use that. This can be blank. Responsibility determination rule can be blank. And according to my business scenario, whichever I have maintained, for example, sales or distribution channel and division, I can select that. If, for example, I do not have a sales office or sales group, I don't have to select that. If I have a sales office or sales group, I can select that as well. This basically means to what level should the system determine. So if I select only till division, that will be the final level in which the system will determine. If I select the sales office, it will determine the sales office as well. Okay? So once I do this, I click on save. Okay, it's asking me to change the profile name. I will give Z and check. Okay, Z is working, so I change this one. Okay. I select the customization request. Now let's see what is the next step. Defining transaction type for marketing activities. Now when I say transaction type, what is it? So now we have determined the different rules, procedures for organizational unit, for partners. We determined all the rules. Finally we are going to give a transaction type for our activity, for each activity. So for example, I'm going to create a known transaction type for like Z123. So Z123 is the transaction type, is going to be the transaction type for my marketing activity for email. So if I type in Z123 in my end user system, it should open up an activity screen for emails. So this is what is the next important step what a consultant do. We will have to create the transaction type. So let's see what are the steps required for it. So in the document there is a very detailed description. You can go through the description and have a better understanding as well. Click on SPRO. Under that you can see customer relationship management. Transactions. Basic settings and define transaction types. This is the place where I come in to define all the transaction types. Can it be anything from starting from an activity to a sales order to a service request, everything, all the transaction types are defined and created here. So all I do is, you can see these systems. I'm going to click on new entries and create a new transaction type. So click on new entries. It's asking me for the transaction type, so I'm going to give it as Z123. The transaction type is for outbound email activity. So this is the transaction type. Now when I say activity, I can have many kinds of activity. So the transaction is more specific or detailed version, wherein which kind of activity. For example, a company might have both email and phone activity. Okay. So you can create the different transaction types for different activities. The description I'm giving it as outbound email transaction type X. It is asking for a leading transaction category. It is asking what kind of transaction category is it. Consumer and business activity. You can use the same example and create it. So you can see the detailed description and screenshots of all the screens in the document. So accordingly you can fill it. There are certain fields which are important here. You can see the profiles here. So earlier we didn't see how we determine the partner determination profile. You can see that here, and the all data profile. So these are the main two profiles which have to be determined in every transaction type. The other profiles like text determination profile or status profile is not that important. It will take the default profile. That is why we didn't see how that can be included. Now, we determined the partner determination profile and we gave a name as well, and we are going to select it here. If you remember, we used Y1119 partner determination procedure for test. Now we can see that is coming in the drop down option for partner determination procedure for this transaction type. So this is how it works. It is all interlinked, wherein I determine the procedure, later on I get it all in the final step to create the final transaction. So I double click on the partner determination profile, whichever I have selected or created. I go to the org data profile. I know I have created my own org data profile as well. It starts with Z. It's Z112, yeah, it's for org data profile for test. The other profiles you can use any standard profile. For example, activity 001 is what I'm going to use because it's for business activity. You do not have to select, it is not mandatory fields for status profiles and other profiles. So partner determination procedure and org data profile are the two main profiles which we will have to configure it initially and then come back and select it in your transaction field. Now by this step, I am creating a new transaction type. The consultant has configured a new transaction type for a customer, that is outbound email activity, and the transaction code is going to be Z123 in his end user system. Okay, you can just put as 01. This is just asking for a default number range. And save it again. Okay, it's checking it now. Now, by this step, we have completed the creation of a new transaction type in SAP CRM, that is Z123. It is outbound email activity. So, as the first step of the consultant, he has created a new transaction type for his customer or for his client, which is Z123, which will help him for his email activity creation. And he can use that Z123 transaction code in his end user system to complete this transaction. Now the other steps available in this document are follow-up steps which is not mandatory and which will differ from business scenario to scenario. So we will have a go-through of all these steps, but these are not mandatory steps and it should not be followed as in the way it is provided. It can be changed. It is changeable according to different scenarios. Okay, so let's see the steps from here now. It's interaction object definition, the first step. So again, in this step, what we are doing is the client end user system will have a field called CRM marketing and mass campaign, or it will have a field called interaction object. So, for example, interaction object is nothing but, in technical terms, the object which is used to interact my customer. So, when you already have created a campaign, then all you are doing here in this step is you are going and naming it as CRM marketing mass campaign. So, it's a simple step which can be done. Again, as I told, not mandatory. So, I am just explaining this step. I am not going in detail. But as per the campaign creation, we have completed how to define our objectives, tactics, types, objectives and tactics. Then we came and determined our partner information profile, we determined our org data profile, and then we also created the transaction type as well. So this is a small step, which is again non-mandatory as I told. It is just to give a name to the interaction object in your end user system. So this is the steps to be followed. Then your activation, that is another step. You just take an interaction object, so you will have to activate it. That is the step. Defining follow-up transactions for the interaction object. So if you have an interaction object, you can just define the following transactions as well. Defining file export variant, again a not at all mandatory step. If you are exporting something, which format do you want it in? Is it XML or CSV? By default, SAP CRM allows only XML or CSV. So we can't provide any other format, so we will have to provide that. Defining file storage location. So if you have a physical part, wherever you want to export your campaign returns, then you can define a file storage part. Defining communication medium is nothing but what is your communication medium. For example, in email activity, the system is asking how are you going to communicate. So in our case, it's going to be an email. It's an outbound email. So that is what we are doing here. Creating survey URL is not a mandatory step for campaign management, but still the document has included it. We will be looking in survey in detail in the lead management. So we do not have to look at in campaign management, because survey is something which comes under lead management, wherein once the customer gets back to the company saying, okay, I am looking for such product, then we hold something called as a survey to understand or recognize the customer's needs and likes in a better way and try to configure our services in that way. Maintaining mail forms, again these are all the steps which have to be done in the web client user interface. These are the steps which have to be ignored by the functional consultant, as the technical consultant will be doing it. As you know, functional consultant will be only working on the GUI system or the graphical user interface system. The technical consultant will, so this document includes both the, the responsibilities of a functional and technical consultant. So in that basis, this document has been done. So apart from that, there are no steps which is important or to be done by the functional consultant. So as I told you, in campaign execution, what a functional consultant should look at is how can we define his objectives, will you see that? How can we define his tactics? How can we define the types of objectives and tactics? How does he determine the different profiles of data profile and partner determination profile? How did he finally create the entire transaction type and get in all the profiles together and configure his transaction time accordingly for his client? So this is what campaign management is, or this is what the entire responsibility of campaign management is for a functional consultant in campaign management. So we have sent you the document, the entire document along with the recorded session 5 itself. So go through the document and you can use your own examples and try on campaign execution or campaign management and complete it, so that in session 7 we will be starting off with lead management. So till then, thank you, and we will meet in session 7.